Purim, a story that has no splitting of the sea, no miraculous battles, no sticks turning into snakes, no fire burning for 8 days. The story of Purim ultimately has nothing supernatural in it. The holiday of Purim finally gives us a story that we can actually relate to in this day and age. Every year we read the story of how the Jewish people were rescued from Haman's evil decree to annihilate the Jewish nation. We read how Esther pleaded on the behalf of the Jewish nation and got King Ahasuerus to retract this horrific plan. We see how everything turned around for the Jews, and we see how one of the greatest potential tragedies turned into a great success. Although this was an amazing success story, when one reads this story in the Megillah, one can't help but feel the void of God's presence in it all. For starters, the name of God isn't recorded in the whole entire Megillah. No matter how long and hard you look, you will not be able to spot the name of God mentioned even once. Where most of our stories have God front and center of the plot, in this story, God's appearance is made ambiguous. There were no supernatural events leading to our salvation, and there were no unmistakable signs proving God's involvement. The casual observer could have easily said, Esther saved the Jewish people. If one wasn't actively looking for God's role in it all, it could have easily been missed. It was almost as if God was hiding from us, making it no coincidence that the name given to this Megillah is Esther, which comes from the word hester, which means to hide. Of course God did save us, but this time He did it in a way that was not so obvious. Where we were typically used to overwhelming miracles, God did this one behind the scenes, quietly tweaking events to ultimately lead to our salvation. There are many times where we ask ourselves, if God is really here, how do we know? There are no clouds of glory. There's no lightning coming from the sky. There are no prophets speaking to God anymore. You can't see Him, you can't hear Him, and you can't feel Him. Comes the story of Purim to tell us that there will be a time in our history where the divine presence won't be made as clear as it used to be. You won't be in the desert anymore. You won't have the holy Beit HaMikdash anymore. You won't have prophets speaking to God anymore. But God will always be here. The story of Purim teaches us that we don't have to depend on the overt miracles to prove that God is orchestrating our every event. The story of Purim teaches us to find God in the not so obvious of places, to see God when He's not glaringly in our face, to hear God in the background noise, and to feel God when His touch is gentle and soft. God will always be here, but Purim teaches us that there will be some times in our history where it will have to be our job to find Him. Have a very happy holiday.